I, 45F, am facing the biggest crisis of my life, and I need your advice, Reddit. My name's Lisa, and I've always been a career-focused woman. But recent family issues have turned my life upside down, making me question everything I thought I knew about my relationships and myself. Let me give you some background. I grew up in what seemed like a typical middle-class American family in a suburban neighborhood of Chicago. My parents, John and Karen, divorced when I was young, and my mom remarried Tom, 53M, when I was in my teens. They had my half-brother, Mike, 25M, shortly after. On the surface, we looked like any other blended family, but underneath, there were always tensions simmering. My relationship with my mom has always been complicated. She's the kind of person who always needs to be the center of attention, and growing up, I often felt like I was living in her shadow. Don't get me wrong, she could be loving and caring when she wanted to be, but there was always this underlying current of competition between us. It's like she saw me as a rival rather than a daughter sometimes. Dad, on the other hand, was my rock. Even after the divorce, he remained a constant, supportive presence in my life. He wasn't perfect, no one is, but he always made me feel valued and heard. Looking back, I realize how much of a stabilizing force he was in my life, especially during those tumultuous teenage years. Now, here's where things start to get messy. When I was 18, just a few months away from graduating high school, I stumbled upon something that would change my perception of my family forever. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I had come home early from hanging out with friends. The house seemed unusually quiet, but then I heard sounds coming from upstairs, my mom's laughter, but also a man's voice that definitely wasn't Tom's. My heart racing, I crept up the stairs, trying to make as little noise as possible. As I got closer to my mom's bedroom, the voices became clearer. I hesitated outside the door, which was slightly ajar. Taking a deep breath, I peeked through the gap, and what I saw, well, it's an image that's been burned into my memory ever since. There was my mom, in bed with a man I'd never seen before. They were laughing, wrapped up in each other, completely oblivious to the world around them. I must have made a sound because suddenly, they both looked up. My mom's face went pale, and she scrambled to cover herself. The man, though? He just smirked, like I was the one intruding. Sarah, wait. This isn't what it looks like. Mom stammered, but it was exactly what it looked like. She was caught, red-handed, cheating on Tom. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I just turned and ran, bolting down the stairs and out of the house. I wandered around the neighborhood for hours, trying to process what I'd seen. Part of me wanted to go back and confront her, to tell Tom, to blow everything up. But another part of me just felt numb, like I couldn't handle dealing with the fallout. I ended up crashing at a friend's place that night, making up some excuse about a fight with my mom. When I went back home the next day, Mom acted like nothing had happened. She was in the kitchen, making breakfast, chatting away about some neighborhood gossip. I couldn't even look at her. I went straight to my room and stayed there for the rest of the day. From that moment on, things between my mom and me were different. I couldn't respect her anymore, couldn't trust her. But I also couldn't bring myself to tell Tom or anyone else what I'd seen. I was afraid of breaking up the family, of hurting Mike, who was just a toddler at the time. So I kept it to myself, letting it fester inside me like a wound that wouldn't heal. I threw myself into my studies and later, my career, using work as an excuse to distance myself from my family. I moved out as soon as I could, got a job in marketing, and climbed the corporate ladder with single-minded determination. On the surface, I was the picture of success, good job, nice apartment, active social life. But underneath, I was still that 18-year-old girl, hurt and betrayed by her mother's actions. Now, fast forward to about a year ago. My dad, who had been my support system all these years, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I took a leave of absence from work to be with him in his final months. During one of our last conversations, he said something that stuck with me. Lisa, honey, remember that your life is your own. Don't let anyone else control your happiness. At the time, I thought he was just giving me general life advice. But now, I wonder if he knew more than he let on. Did he suspect something about Mom all those years ago? After Dad passed away, Mom started reaching out more. At first, I thought maybe she was trying to mend our relationship. She'd call to check in, ask about my work, my life. It was nice, in a way. I was grieving, vulnerable, and part of me wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, we could have a fresh start. But then, about 6 months ago, the other shoe dropped. Mom called me one evening, her voice syrupy sweet. "Lisa, darling, I need to talk to you about something important." I should have known something was up. Mom only used that tone when she wanted something. "What is it, Mom?" I asked, trying to keep the wariness out of my voice. "Well, you know how expensive college is these days. Mike is struggling to get all his scholarships lined up, and Tom and I, well, we're doing our best, but it's not easy." I felt a knot forming in my stomach. I had a feeling I knew where this was going. "Anyway," she continued, "I was wondering if you could help out. You know, with your job and that apartment your father left you, you must have some extra money." And there it was. I sat in stunned silence for a moment, trying to process what she was asking. The apartment she mentioned was a small place Dad had bought for me when I first moved out. It was in a good area of the city, and over the years, its value had increased significantly. I'd been renting it out, using the income to supplement my savings. "Mom," I said slowly, "I can't just give you money for Mike's college. That apartment is my safety net. And besides, Mike is an adult. He can take out loans or work part-time like I did." She scoffed. "I can't believe how selfish you're being, Lisa. This is your brother we're talking about. Family helps family." The conversation devolved from there. Mom accused me of being cold, uncaring, of abandoning the family. I tried to explain my position, but she wouldn't listen. We ended the call with her angry and me feeling guilty and frustrated. Over the next few weeks, the pressure increased. Mom would call or text almost daily, each time with a new guilt trip or accusation. Tom even reached out once, apologizing for the situation but also gently suggesting that maybe I could do a little something to help out. I was at my wit's end. The stress was affecting my work, my relationships. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I received a call that turned my world upside down. It was from the tenant renting my apartment. "Ms. Johnson," he said, sounding confused and a bit panicked, "I just received an eviction notice. The letter says the property has been sold." "But that can't be right, can it?" My blood ran cold. "What? No, that's impossible. I haven't sold the apartment." But as I would soon discover, the apartment had indeed been sold. And the person who sold it? My own mother. I was in shock. How could this happen? How could she do this? I immediately called my lawyer and started investigating. What we uncovered left me reeling. It turned out that when Dad first bought the apartment for me, he had put both my name and Mom's on the deed. I was only 18 at the time, and I guess he thought it was a way to protect me. But now, years later, Mom had used that legal loophole to sell the apartment without my knowledge or consent. She had forged my signature on the sale documents, pocketed the money, and was planning to use it to pay for Mike's college tuition. When I confronted her, her response left me speechless. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Lisa," she said, sounding annoyed. "You weren't using the apartment anyway. It was just sitting there, and Mike needed the money. I did what any good mother would do." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Any good mother? A good mother doesn't steal from one child to give to another. What you did is illegal, Mom. It's fraud. She waved her hand dismissively. Please, it's not stealing when it's family. You're just being selfish, as usual. Always thinking about yourself instead of what's best for all of us. I was shaking with anger and disbelief. This woman, my own mother, had not only betrayed my trust but had committed a crime against me. And she couldn't even see what she'd done wrong. That's where I am now, Reddit. I'm lost, confused, and angry. Part of me wants to press charges, to make her face the consequences of her actions. But another part of me hesitates. She's still my mother, after all. And what about Mike? He didn't ask for any of this. I feel like I'm at a crossroads, and I don't know which way to turn. Do I pursue legal action against my own mother? Do I try to handle this within the family? Or do I just cut my losses and walk away from all of them? I never thought I'd be in this position. I always prided myself on being strong, independent, able to handle whatever life threw at me. But this feels like it's tearing me apart. So, Reddit, what do I do? How do I navigate this mess without losing myself in the process? Have any of you dealt with something similar? I could really use some advice, some perspective. Because right now, I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of betrayal and family drama, and I can't see a way out. Thank you for reading this far. I know it's a lot to take in. I'm hoping that by sharing my story, I can find some clarity, some direction. Because right now, I feel more lost than I ever have in my life. Update 1, it's been 3 months since my last post, and I can't believe how much has changed. Thank you all for your support and advice. Your words have been a source of strength during this difficult time. First, the hardest news, my dad passed away last month. His cancer progressed much faster than the doctors initially thought. I was with him in his final moments. He squeezed my hand and said, "Lisa, remember what I told you. Your life is your own. Don't let anyone take that from you." At the time, I thought he was just giving me general life advice, but now I wonder if he knew more than he let on. The funeral was difficult. Mom was there, playing the role of the grieving ex-wife perfectly. She even gave a speech about what a great father and ex-husband Dad had been. I had to bite my tongue to keep from screaming at the hypocrisy of it all. A week after the funeral, Mom called me about my apartment. "Lisa, darling," she said, "we need to talk about your apartment. You know how expensive college is these days. Mike is struggling with scholarships, and with your father's medical bills, well, we're in a tight spot." I could see where this was going, but I let her continue. "I was thinking," she went on, "maybe we could sell your apartment. You're not using it, after all. If we sold it, we could pay for Mike's college and settle all the outstanding bills." I was stunned. The apartment she was talking about was the one Dad had bought for me when I first moved out. It was my safety net, my backup plan. "Mom," I said slowly, "that apartment is mine. Dad gave it to me. I can't just sell it because you're having money problems." She scoffed. "I can't believe how selfish you're being, Lisa. This is your brother we're talking about. Family helps family." The conversation devolved from there. Mom accused me of being cold and uncaring. We ended the call with her angry and me feeling guilty and frustrated. Over the next few weeks, the pressure increased. Mom would call or text almost daily, each time with a new guilt trip or accusation. Tom even reached out once, suggesting that maybe I could do a little something to help out. I was at my wit's end. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I received a call that turned my world upside down. It was from the tenant renting my apartment. "Ms. Johnson," he said, sounding confused and panicked, "I just received an eviction notice. The letter says the property has been sold." But that can't be right, can it? My blood ran cold. As I would soon discover, the apartment had indeed been sold. And the person who sold it? My own mother. I immediately called my lawyer and started investigating. What we uncovered left me reeling. It turned out that when Dad first bought the apartment for me, he had put both my name and Mom's on the deed. I was only 18 at the time, and I guess he thought it was a way to protect me. But now, years later, Mom had used that legal loophole to sell the apartment without my knowledge or consent. She had forged my signature on the sale documents, pocketed the money, and was planning to use it to pay for Mike's college tuition. When I confronted her, her response left me speechless. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Lisa," she said, sounding annoyed. "You weren't using the apartment anyway. It was just sitting there, and Mike needed the money. I did what any good mother would do." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Any good mother? A good mother doesn't steal from one child to give to another. What you did is illegal, Mom. It's fraud. She waved her hand dismissively. Please, it's not stealing when it's family. You're just being selfish, as usual. Always thinking about yourself instead of what's best for all of us. I was shaking with anger and disbelief. This woman, my own mother, had not only betrayed my trust but had committed a crime against me. And she couldn't even see what she'd done wrong. After that confrontation, I knew I had to take action. I couldn't let this slide. So, I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. I decided to pursue legal action against my own mother. My lawyer is confident we have a strong case. The forged documents, the unauthorized sale, it's all clear evidence of fraud. But knowing that doesn't make this any easier. Every time I think about the upcoming legal battle, I feel sick to my stomach. I haven't told Mike about any of this yet. He's away at college, excited about his future, and I can't bring myself to shatter his world. I know I'll have to tell him eventually, but for now, I'm carrying this burden alone. Tom has been surprisingly supportive. When I told him what Mom had done, he was shocked. He said he had no idea she was capable of something like this. As for me, I'm just trying to take it one day at a time. Some days, I'm furious at Mom for what she's done. Other days, I'm just sad, mourning the loss of the family I thought I had. I keep thinking about Dad's last words to me. Your life is your own. Maybe this is what he was trying to tell me. Maybe he knew, on some level, that I would need to stand up for myself one day. So that's where I am now, Reddit. I'm about to enter a legal battle with my own mother. I'm grieving my father, worried about my brother, and trying to hold on to some semblance of normalcy in my life. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I can't let this go. I have to fight for what's right, even if it means potentially losing my family in the process. Thank you all for listening. Your support means more than you know. I'll update again when I have more news about the legal proceedings. Wish me luck, I have a feeling I'm going to need it. Update 2, it's been 5 months since my last update, and the legal battle with my mother has been a roller coaster. I'll try to summarize the key events without rehashing too much. The trial officially began 3 months ago. Walking into that courtroom for the first time was surreal. Seeing Mom on the opposite side of the room, her eyes still defiant, made my stomach churn. The first few weeks were brutal. We learned that Mom had been planning this for months, meticulously forging my signature on multiple documents. She'd even created a fake email account in my name to communicate with the real estate agent and buyers. Her testimony was the worst part. She sat there, cool as could be, and told the court she had every right to sell the apartment. I was just doing what was best for the family, she said, her voice dripping with false sincerity. Lisa has always been selfish. I was trying to help her brother, to do what she should have done willingly. The stress started seeping into every part of my life. I couldn't sleep or eat. I had to take a leave of absence from work. I felt like I was drowning. But then, something unexpected happened. Tom, my stepdad, reached out to me. When we met, he started by apologizing. I'm so sorry, Lisa, he said. I had no idea Karen was capable of something like this. I should have seen it, should have stopped her. I was stunned. I had expected him to defend Mom. Instead, he offered his full support. I've known for a while that something wasn't right with Karen, he confessed. The way she manipulates people, the lies. I just never thought she'd go this far. I want you to know that I'm on your side in this. What she did was wrong, and she needs to face the consequences. Tom even offered to testify on my behalf, to corroborate some of the patterns of behavior I'd described. As the trial progressed, the toll on our family became more apparent. Mike, my half-brother, finally found out about everything. He showed up at the courthouse one day, his face a mask of confusion and hurt. Is it true? He asked me. Did Mom really steal from you to pay for my college? I nodded, unable to find the words. Mike walked away without another word. I haven't heard from him since. The rest of the family has taken sides. Some support me, understanding the gravity of what Mom did. Others have sided with her, buying into her narrative of the selfless mother just trying to help her son. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the day of the verdict arrived. As the judge began to speak, I held my breath. In the case of Johnson versus Johnson, this court finds the defendant, Karen Johnson, guilty of fraud and forgery. The courtroom erupted into chaos. I sat there, stunned, as my lawyer patted me on the back. I looked over at Mom, expecting to see defeat or remorse. Instead, she stared right back at me, her expression a mix of anger and defiance. The judge continued, detailing Mom's sentence. 3 years in prison, plus restitution for the full value of the apartment and legal fees. It was more than I had expected, and for a moment, I felt a twinge of doubt. Was this too harsh? But then I remembered all the stress, the family torn apart, and I knew that justice had been served. As the bailiff led Mom away, she called out to me one last time. "I hope you're happy now, Lisa. You've destroyed this family." Her words stung, but I held my ground. I knew in my heart that she was the one who had destroyed our family, not me. In the weeks following the verdict, I've been trying to process everything. The apartment has been returned to me, and the legal mess is slowly being untangled. But the emotional toll, that's something I'm still grappling with. Tom has been incredibly supportive. He's filed for divorce from Mom and has been helping me navigate the aftermath of the trial. We've grown closer through this ordeal, finding an unexpected friendship amidst the chaos. Mike is still distant, but he sent me a text the other day. "I'm sorry," it read. "I need time to process all this. It's not much, but it's a start. As for me, I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. I still have moments where I question everything, where the guilt and doubt creep in. But then I remind myself of what Dad said, your life is your own. I did what I had to do to protect myself, to stand up for what's right. I'm not sure what the future holds. The family I once knew is gone, but maybe something new and stronger can grow from the ashes of the old. For now, I'm focusing on healing and rebuilding my life in this new reality. Thank you, Reddit, for being there through all of this. Your support has meant more than you know. To anyone facing a similar situation, know that you're not alone. Stand up for yourself, even when it's hard. Your life is your own, and you have the right to protect it." Update 3, it's been 6 months since my last update, and so much has changed. I've been hesitant to post again, feeling like I needed time to process everything before sharing. But I promised to keep you all updated, so here goes. After the trial and Mom's sentencing, I felt like I was in a daze. The adrenaline that had been keeping me going suddenly vanished, leaving me feeling empty and lost. I took some time off work, using my saved vacation days to just exist. Some days, I barely left my bed. Others, I'd find myself wandering around the city, lost in thought. During one of these walks, I found myself near Tom's place. Without really thinking, I texted him, asking if he was free for coffee. He responded almost immediately, inviting me over. Sitting in Tom's living room, clutching a mug of coffee, I felt an overwhelming urge to unburden myself. Tom had been so supportive throughout the trial, and I realized there was still one secret I'd been carrying for far too long. "Tom," I started, my voice shaking, "there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago." He looked at me, concern etched on his face. "What is it, Lisa?" I took a deep breath. "About 27 years ago, when I was 18. I caught Mom cheating on you." The words hung in the air between us. Tom's face went pale, and for a moment, I regretted saying anything. But I knew I had to continue. I told him everything, how I'd come home early that day, the sounds I'd heard, what I'd seen when I looked into that bedroom. As I spoke, tears started rolling down my cheeks. "I'm so sorry, Tom. I should have told you back then. I was scared. I didn't want to break up the family. But maybe if I had said something, all of this could have been avoided." Tom was quiet for a long time after I finished speaking. When he finally looked up at me, his eyes were filled with a mixture of pain and relief. Thank you for telling me, Lisa, he said softly. I had my suspicions over the years. There were little things that never quite added up. But I guess I didn't want to see it. He reached out and took my hand. You were just a kid. It wasn't your responsibility to fix our marriage or expose your mother's infidelity. Please don't blame yourself. We talked for hours that day. Tom shared his own doubts and suspicions over the years, the times he'd almost left but convinced himself to stay for Mike's sake. It was like a dam had broken, and all the unspoken truths were finally flowing free. As I was leaving, Tom hugged me tightly. You're a good person, Lisa. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. Over the next few weeks, Tom and I stayed in close contact. He decided to file for divorce, even though Mom was already in prison. It's long overdue, he told me. I need to make a clean break. The divorce proceedings were relatively straightforward, given Mom's current situation. Tom kept the house, and they divided their other assets. It was strange to watch the final dissolution of their marriage, knowing the role I played in it, both at the beginning and the end. Throughout all of this, I've been trying to figure out my own path forward. The apartment that started this whole mess? I decided to sell it. Not because I needed the money, but because I needed a fresh start. Every time I looked at it, all I could see was the pain and betrayal it represented. With the proceeds from the sale, I've made a big decision. I'm moving. Not just to a new apartment, but to a new city entirely. I've accepted a job offer in Seattle, clear across the country from all the drama and painful memories. It wasn't an easy decision. Despite everything, there's a part of me that still feels tied to this place, to the remnants of my family. But I keep hearing Dad's words in my head, your life is your own. It's time I really embraced that. I've rented a small house in Seattle, nothing fancy, but it's mine. It has a little garden that I'm excited to work on. I've never been much of a green thumb, but the idea of nurturing something, watching it grow, it feels symbolic somehow. Tom has been incredibly supportive of my decision. You deserve a fresh start, he told me. Just promise you'll stay in touch. We've made plans for him to visit once I'm settled. Mike is still struggling to come to terms with everything. He's been to visit Mom in prison a few times, which I understand. Despite everything, she's still his mother. He and I have had a few conversations, stilted, awkward things, but it's a start. I've told him about my move, and he seemed relieved, I think. Maybe some distance will help us rebuild our relationship. As for Mom, I haven't spoken to her since the trial. She's sent a few letters, but I haven't opened them. I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe someday, but not now. My last day in the city was a whirlwind of goodbyes and last-minute packing. As I was doing a final sweep of my apartment, I found an old photo album tucked away in a closet. Inside was a picture of all of us, Mom, Dad, Tom, Mike, and me, from years ago. We were at a picnic, all smiling at the camera. For a moment, I was overwhelmed by a wave of nostalgia and grief for the family we used to be. But then I remembered everything that's happened, how that picture was just a facade hiding so many ugly truths. I closed the album and left it behind. Some memories are better left in the past. As I write this, I'm sitting in my new living room in Seattle. Boxes are piled around me, waiting to be unpacked. Through the window, I can see the misty Seattle skyline. It's all so new, so different. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. But for the first time in a long time, I'm also excited. I don't know what the future holds. I'm sure there will be challenges ahead, rebuilding my career in a new city, making new friends, maybe even trying to date again someday. But for now, I'm focusing on healing, on rediscovering who I am outside of all the family drama. To everyone who's followed my story and offered support along the way, thank you. Your kindness has been a light in some very dark times. I don't think I'll be posting updates anymore. It's time to close this chapter of my life and start writing a new one. To anyone out there facing family betrayal or difficult decisions, stay strong. Your life is your own. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away and start anew. Wish me luck, Reddit. Here's to new beginnings.